There comes a moment in every person's life when they must choose between comfort and freedom. Comfort may look familiar. Freedom often looks frightening. Many people remain in unhealthy relationships not because they are weak, but because they have forgotten how valuable they truly are. They have become so accustomed to confusion that peace feels unfamiliar. They have lived so long under criticism that confidence seems impossible. But hear this carefully. The greatest prison is not made of steel. It is made of fear. Fear of starting over. Fear of being alone. Fear of what people will say. Fear that life will never get better. Today, we are going to uncover one of the most important truths about emotional freedom. What really happens when you leave a narcissistic relationship. Not through revenge, not through bitterness, not through hatred, but through wisdom, through healing, through purpose, through becoming the person you were always created to become. Because when you understand your value, you stop negotiating your peace. Let's begin. Many people believe that the hardest part of leaving a narcissistic relationship is the moment they walk away. They imagine that the final conversation, the goodbye, or the physical separation is the greatest obstacle. But the truth is deeper than that. The greatest challenge often begins after the decision has already been made. This is because unhealthy relationships can reshape the way people think, feel, and see themselves. When someone has spent months or years constantly seeking approval, avoiding conflict, or questioning their own judgment, stepping into freedom can feel unfamiliar. Yet unfamiliar does not mean wrong. In many cases, it is the first sign that real healing has begun. One of the most important principles of personal growth is understanding that freedom always carries responsibility. Freedom is not simply the absence of control, it is the opportunity to rediscover who you truly are. When a person leaves an unhealthy relationship, they are not just leaving another individual. They are leaving behind unhealthy habits, unhealthy thinking, and unhealthy emotional patterns that may have developed over time. That journey requires patience. It requires courage. Most importantly, it requires a willingness to rebuild from the inside out. Many people make the mistake of measuring progress by how quickly their pain disappears. But emotional healing does not follow a straight line. Some days you feel strong. Other days, old memories return. One morning you wake up feeling hopeful, and the next you question whether you made the right decision. These emotional ups and downs are common after any significant life change. They do not automatically mean you are moving backward. Growth often feels uncomfortable because it asks you to let go of familiar patterns while learning healthier ones. Just as a muscle becomes stronger through resistance, character often becomes stronger through challenges that require perseverance. Think about someone learning to walk after recovering from an injury. The first few steps are uncertain. They may feel weak, unbalanced, and afraid of falling again. Yet every careful step is proof that recovery is taking place. Emotional healing works in much the same way. Confidence does not usually return overnight. Trust in yourself is rebuilt through many small decisions made consistently over time. Each healthy boundary you establish, each moment you choose peace instead of unnecessary conflict, and each decision to respect yourself becomes another step toward lasting freedom. One of the greatest consequences of leaving an unhealthy relationship is that you finally have space to hear your own thoughts again. For a long time, your decisions may have been shaped by fear, criticism, or the constant need to avoid tension. You may have questioned your own memory, your own feelings, or your own instincts. But once the noise begins to fade, something remarkable happens. You begin reconnecting with your own values. You remember the dreams you placed on hold. You discover interests that had been neglected. You begin asking not what will make someone else happy, but what kind of person do I want to become? That question has the power to transform an entire life. Personal growth begins the moment you stop allowing someone else's opinion to define your value. Your worth is not determined by how much attention you receive, how many compliments someone gives you, or whether another person chooses to appreciate you. Your value comes from your character, your integrity, your purpose, and the unique contribution you are capable of making in the world. When you understand this truth, your confidence becomes rooted in something far more stable than the changing opinions of other people. You stop chasing approval because you have discovered self-respect. This journey also teaches an important lesson about emotional responsibility. It is easy to focus all your attention on another person's behavior, but lasting growth happens when you focus on your own development. Ask yourself, what boundaries do I want to establish? What habits will help me become emotionally stronger? What beliefs about myself need to change? These questions move your attention away from the past and toward the future. They shift your energy from blame to personal responsibility. And personal responsibility is one of the greatest sources of lasting confidence. Another powerful consequence of leaving is that peace slowly becomes your new normal. At first, peace may feel unfamiliar because your mind has become accustomed to constant emotional tension. Silence may seem strange. Calm conversations may feel unusual. Predictable days may even feel boring compared to the emotional highs and lows you once experienced. But over time, you begin to realize that peace is not boring, it is healthy. It gives your mind room to think clearly, your heart room to heal, and your spirit room to grow. You begin making decisions based on wisdom instead of fear, and that single change can influence every area of your life. Remember this powerful truth. Every ending creates the possibility of a new beginning. Walking away from an unhealthy relationship is not the end of your story. It is the closing of one chapter so another can begin. The pain you experience today does not have to become your permanent identity. It can become your greatest teacher. Every lesson learned, every healthy choice made, and every act of self-respect strengthens the foundation upon which your future is built. Never believe that leaving means you have lost everything. Sometimes what feels like a loss is actually the removal of what was preventing your growth. A gardener prunes branches not because the tree has no value, but because healthy growth requires removing what no longer serves its purpose. In the same way, there are seasons in life when letting go is not an act of weakness, but an act of wisdom. It is a declaration that your peace, your purpose, and your future matter. When you choose growth over fear, truth over confusion, and self-respect over unhealthy attachment, you are not simply walking away from a difficult chapter. You are walking toward the person you were always capable of becoming. One of the greatest misunderstandings about leaving an unhealthy relationship is believing that freedom should feel wonderful from the very first day. Many people expect immediate relief, constant happiness, and an instant return to confidence. When those feelings do not appear right away, they begin to question whether they made the right decision. But lasting transformation rarely begins with comfort. More often, it begins with uncertainty. The temporary discomfort that follows a major life change is not proof that you are moving in the wrong direction. It is often evidence that your mind and emotions are adjusting to a healthier reality. Think about any worthwhile achievement in life. A student experiences stress before graduation. An athlete experiences soreness before becoming stronger. An entrepreneur faces setbacks before building success. Growth almost always requires passing through a season that feels difficult before reaching the rewards that make the journey worthwhile. Emotional healing follows the same principle. It asks you to endure temporary discomfort in exchange for long-term peace, wisdom, and personal freedom. When people spend a long period adapting to unhealthy relationship dynamics, they often become accustomed to patterns that drain their emotional energy. Constant criticism, unpredictable reactions, emotional confusion, or the feeling of never being good enough can gradually affect the way a person thinks about themselves. Even after leaving, those internal habits may remain for a while. You may hear an inner voice questioning your decisions, doubting your abilities, or making you feel responsible for things beyond your control. It is important to recognize that these thoughts are learned patterns, not permanent truths. Just because you think something does not automatically make it accurate. This is why healing begins with renewing the way you think. Every day presents an opportunity to replace self-doubt with self-respect, fear with wisdom, and confusion with clarity. Your thoughts shape your decisions shape your habits, and your habits shape your future. If you continue believing that your worth depends on someone else's approval, you will struggle to experience genuine freedom. But the moment you begin understanding that your value exists independently of another person's opinion, everything starts to change. Confidence grows not because life becomes easier, but because your foundation becomes stronger. There may be days when loneliness appears unexpectedly. You may miss the routine more than the relationship itself. Human beings naturally become familiar with routines, even unhealthy ones. Familiarity often creates a false sense of comfort. That is why many people are tempted to return to situations that no longer serve them. They mistake familiarity for security. Yet true security is not found in repeating painful patterns. It is found in building a life based on respect, honesty, peace, and purpose. Every time you choose not to return to unhealthy habits, you strengthen your character and reinforce your commitment to a healthier future. Temporary discomfort also creates an opportunity to rediscover your independence. During this season, you begin making decisions based on your values rather than someone else's expectations. You learn what brings you peace. You reconnect with hobbies, goals, and dreams that may have been neglected. You begin to understand that your identity is much greater than any single relationship. You are a person with unique talents, gifts, experiences, and a purpose that extends far beyond your past circumstances. The more you invest in personal growth, the less your future becomes controlled by your history. Another valuable lesson during this process is patience. We live in a world that celebrates instant results, but meaningful change often develops gradually. Just as a tree does not grow overnight, emotional maturity takes time. Every healthy decision you make becomes another root strengthening your foundation. Every boundary you establish protects your peace. Every lesson you learn increases your wisdom. These small victories may seem insignificant from one day to the next, but over months and years, they produce remarkable transformation. Success in healing is rarely built through dramatic moments. It is built through consistent choices, repeated faithfully over time. As your healing continues, you will notice something remarkable. The things that once disturbed your peace began losing their influence over your emotions. Situations that once caused fear no longer have the same power. Words that once wounded your confidence began to lose their weight. This does not happen because the past disappears. It happens because you become stronger than the experiences that once controlled you. Emotional maturity is not about pretending difficult experiences never happened. It is about refusing to let them determine the direction of your future. During this journey, surround yourself with influences that encourage growth rather than fear. Spend time reading uplifting material, learning practical life skills, strengthening your faith or personal values, developing healthy friendships, and pursuing meaningful goals. Every positive influence becomes another brick in the foundation of your new life. The environment you choose today will help shape the person you become tomorrow. Protect your mind with the same care that you would protect your physical health. What you consistently allow into your thoughts eventually influences your actions. Most importantly, remember that temporary discomfort is exactly that, temporary. It is a season, not a permanent destination. Storms do not last forever. Winter eventually gives way to spring. The night always gives way to morning. In the same way, emotional healing moves through stages. The confusion you experience today can become tomorrow's wisdom. The tears you shed today can water the seeds of future strength. The uncertainty you feel today can become the confidence that inspires someone else tomorrow. Never measure your progress by the absence of difficulty. Measure it by the strength you are developing through every challenge. Every day you choose peace over chaos, truth over confusion, and self-respect over unhealthy attachment. You are moving forward. You are becoming wiser than your past, stronger than your fears, and more prepared for the future that awaits you. The discomfort you experience after making a courageous decision is not your destination. It is the bridge leading you toward lasting growth, deeper confidence, healthier relationships, and a life built on purpose instead of fear. That is the true reward of choosing freedom. One of the greatest turning points in a person's life comes when they stop measuring their worth by someone else's opinion. For many people, this realization does not happen overnight. It develops slowly through experience, reflection, and the decision to no longer allow another person's approval to determine their value. When you have spent a long time trying to earn acceptance from someone who rarely offered consistent respect or appreciation, you may begin believing that if you could just say the right words, do the right things, or become a different person, everything would finally improve. But lasting peace is never built on constantly trying to prove your worth. It is built on recognizing that your value exists before anyone else chooses to acknowledge it. Every healthy relationship is strengthened by mutual respect, honesty, and appreciation. These qualities allow people to grow together while maintaining their individuality. However, when someone constantly depends on another person's validation to feel valuable, they place the foundation of their confidence in something that is unstable. Human opinions change, emotions change, circumstances change. If your self-worth rises and falls every time another person praises or criticizes you, you surrender control of your emotional well-being to factors you cannot control. A wise person understands that confidence built upon external approval will always remain fragile. Think about a house built on shifting sand. It may appear beautiful from the outside, but the first major storm reveals the weakness beneath it. In contrast, a house built on solid ground remains steady because its foundation is secure. Your confidence works the same way. If it is built upon compliments, popularity, or constant reassurance, it becomes vulnerable whenever those things disappear. But when your confidence is rooted in character, purpose, personal responsibility, and integrity, it becomes far more resilient. Challenges may come, criticism may appear, and disappointment may arise, but your identity remains secure because it is no longer dependent on someone else's opinion. Many people spend years chasing validation without realizing they are running in circles. They constantly ask themselves, how can I make this person appreciate me? What else do I need to change? Why am I still not enough? These questions keep their attention focused outward instead of inward. Personal growth begins when those questions are replaced with better ones. Ask yourself, am I living according to my values? Am I becoming more disciplined? Am I growing in wisdom? Am I treating others with respect while also respecting myself? These questions encourage development rather than dependence. They move your focus away from seeking approval and toward becoming the best version of yourself. One of the most freeing discoveries in life is realizing that not everyone will understand your journey, and that is perfectly acceptable. Some people may disagree with your decisions. Others may misunderstand your intentions. A few may even criticize your growth because it challenges the expectations they once had of you. But maturity teaches you that your responsibility is not to manage every opinion. Your responsibility is to live with integrity. When your decisions are guided by wisdom instead of the fear of disappointing others, you begin experiencing a level of freedom that external validation could never provide. This does not mean becoming proud, arrogant, or unwilling to learn from others. Healthy confidence is not built on believing you are better than everyone else. It is built on understanding that your value does not increase because someone praises you, nor does it decrease because someone fails to recognize it. Humility allows you to accept constructive feedback, while self-respect prevents you from accepting unnecessary disrespect. These two qualities work together to create emotional stability. You remain teachable without becoming easily manipulated. You remain kind without sacrificing your boundaries. You remain compassionate without abandoning your principles. Another important lesson is that validation can never replace purpose. A person may receive applause from thousands of people and still feel empty if they have no clear direction in life. On the other hand, someone quietly pursuing meaningful goals with integrity often experiences a deeper sense of fulfillment because their satisfaction comes from living according to their purpose rather than performing for approval. Purpose gives your life direction. It reminds you that your talents, experiences, and abilities exist for something greater than impressing other people. When you focus on becoming useful instead of merely becoming admired, your life gains lasting significance. As you continue growing, you begin discovering that self-respect changes the way you approach every relationship. You become less interested in convincing people to value you and more interested in building connections based on mutual honesty and respect. You no longer feel the need to explain every decision or defend every choice. Instead, your consistency speaks for itself. People who genuinely care about you will appreciate your growth. Those who only valued the version of you that constantly sought their approval may struggle to understand the changes you are making. That is not a reason to stop growing. It is simply evidence that growth often changes the relationships around you. Learning to validate yourself also requires developing healthy daily habits. Spend time investing in your mind through reading, learning, and reflection. Strengthen your body through healthy routines. Develop your skills through consistent practice. Surround yourself with people who encourage accountability, wisdom, and positive character. Every small investment you make in yourself becomes another reminder that your life has purpose beyond pleasing others. Confidence grows through repeated actions that align with your values, not through waiting for someone else to tell you that you are enough. Remember that the most important voice you will hear throughout your life is the one inside your own mind. If that voice constantly repeats messages of inadequacy, fear, or self-doubt, it becomes difficult to experience peace even when others encourage you. But when you intentionally replace those thoughts with truth, gratitude, responsibility, and hope, your perspective begins to change. Your circumstances may not transform overnight, but the way you respond to them certainly can. Inner peace is strengthened when your thoughts become aligned with wisdom rather than insecurity. Never forget this timeless principle. People may appreciate you, criticize you, misunderstand you, or overlook you. But none of those responses determine your worth. Your value is reflected in your character, your integrity, your willingness to grow, and your commitment to living with purpose. The day you stop chasing validation and start investing in becoming the person you were created to be is the day you begin experiencing genuine confidence. From that moment forward, you are no longer living to earn acceptance. You are living to fulfill your purpose, protect your peace, and build a life founded on wisdom, self-respect, and lasting personal growth. Every meaningful ending in life carries within it the possibility of a remarkable new beginning. This is one of the greatest lessons of personal growth, yet it is also one of the hardest to accept while experiencing pain. When a chapter closes, our attention naturally focuses on what has been lost rather than what can still be gained. We think about the time invested, the hopes that did not become reality, and the future we once imagined. These emotions are understandable, but they do not have to become permanent. An ending is not always a sign that your life is falling apart. Sometimes it is evidence that your life is making room for something healthier, wiser, and more meaningful. Many people remain trapped in the past because they believe that letting go means admitting defeat. They think that moving forward somehow erases the value of what they once hoped for. But wisdom teaches a different lesson. Moving forward does not deny the past. It acknowledges it, learns from it, and then chooses not to remain imprisoned by it. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, has the potential to teach something valuable if we are willing to become students instead of victims. The question is not whether difficult seasons will come. They will. The real question is whether those seasons will make you bitter or make you wiser. Life has a remarkable way of turning hardships into opportunities for growth when we respond with humility, courage, and responsibility. Think about the process of refining gold. Gold does not become pure by avoiding heat. It becomes pure because it passes through it. In the same way, character is not developed during the easiest moments of life. Character is revealed and strengthened during seasons that require patience, resilience, and faith. Challenges do not automatically improve a person, but challenges met with the right attitude often produce wisdom that comfort alone could never teach. One of the greatest dangers after any painful ending is allowing disappointment to become your identity. There is a significant difference between experiencing failure and believing that you are a failure. There is a difference between feeling rejected and believing you have no value. Circumstances may affect your emotions, but they should never define your identity. You are more than one difficult chapter. You are more than one broken relationship, one mistake, one setback, or one disappointment. Your future should never be limited by the worst moment of your past. The past can inform your decisions, but it should not imprison your destiny. This is where personal responsibility becomes so powerful. While you cannot control every event that happens in your life, you always have influence over how you respond. You can choose to learn instead of remaining stuck. You can choose to forgive instead of carrying resentment. You can choose to improve instead of surrendering to discouragement. These choices may seem small in the moment, but they gradually reshape the direction of your life. Great futures are not built through one dramatic decision alone. They are built through thousands of wise decisions made consistently over time. Every ending also provides an opportunity to evaluate your priorities. Sometimes we become so focused on maintaining relationships, routines, or expectations that we neglect our own growth. We postpone our dreams. We ignore our talents. We silence our voice in order to avoid conflict or gain approval. But when one chapter closes, we are given a chance to ask important questions. What kind of person do I want to become? What values will guide my future? What habits will help me build a life of peace, purpose, and integrity? These questions shift your attention from what you have lost to what you are now free to create. Another important lesson is that healing does not mean pretending the past never happened. True healing means allowing your experiences to strengthen your wisdom without hardening your heart. There is a difference between being cautious and becoming fearful. Wisdom teaches you to recognize unhealthy patterns without assuming every future relationship will repeat the past. Growth allows you to set healthy boundaries while remaining open to genuine kindness, honesty, and respect. A painful experience should increase your discernment, not destroy your hope. As you continue moving forward, you begin to notice changes within yourself. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. You become more patient because you have learned the value of emotional stability. You become more confident because your identity is no longer dependent on other people's opinions. You become more intentional because you understand that every choice contributes to the future you are building. This is one of the hidden gifts of overcoming adversity. It develops strength that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or given by someone else. It must be earned through perseverance and faithful growth. Your future is not determined by what happened yesterday. It is shaped by what you choose to do today. Every morning offers a fresh opportunity to take one more step toward becoming the person you were created to be. one healthy habit, one courageous decision, one act of forgiveness, one new skill, one meaningful goal. These small actions accumulate over time until they produce extraordinary results. Never underestimate the power of consistent progress. Mountains are climbed one step at a time, and remarkable lives are built the same way. Remember that the strongest trees often grow in places where they have faced powerful winds. Those winds force their roots to grow deeper, making them more stable over time. In the same way, life's challenges can deepen your character if you refuse to give up. The storms you survive today can become the very reason you stand stronger tomorrow. They teach resilience, gratitude, patience, and wisdom, qualities that cannot be developed through comfort alone. Never allow one painful ending to convince you that your best days are behind you. Some of life's greatest opportunities appear only after the door to an old season has closed. Every ending creates space for new purpose, healthier relationships, greater emotional maturity, and a clearer understanding of who you are. What feels like a closing chapter today may become the foundation of your greatest testimony tomorrow. Walk forward with courage. Carry the lessons, not the burdens. Protect your peace, strengthen your character, and keep your eyes fixed on the future. Because every difficult ending, when met with wisdom and determination, has the power to become the beginning of the strongest, wisest, and most purposeful season of your life.